Imagine you're on a flight, high above the clouds, and then something goes wrong, a technical failure. But what if that story ends okay? Not in disaster, but actually, as a textbook example of quick thinking, a successful response. Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, the Ahmedabad plane emergency landing on June 25th, 2024. Our mission really is to unpack what went down, understand the critical tech involved, look at the bigger picture for aviation safety, and maybe explore how we can make flying even safer.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here, I think, is that this wasn't just some news blip. It's actually a success story, a success of human response under pressure.
Hmm.
And it holds some pretty important lessons,
hmm
for anyone looking at complex systems, risk management, that kind of thing. It's a fascinating case study.
Okay, so let's get into it. What exactly happened on that flight? It was Ahmedabad to Delhi, right?
That's right. So our sources say it was a domestic passenger flight. Midair, they experienced a technical failure.
And specifically,
Specifically, the pilot detected a hydraulic system malfunction, which, is a pretty critical issue on an aircraft.
yeah. So what did they do?
Well, as a precaution, they immediately turned back, returned to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad, and they executed a safe emergency landing. The key thing, no casualties, no injuries reported.
Okay, hydraulics. You said critical. Tell us a bit more about why. What do they actually do on a plane?
Oh, they're absolutely vital. Think of hydraulics as the muscle power of the aircraft. They move the heavy stuff. We're talking landing gear deployment, the brakes, the flaps on the wings, even controlling the rudder and ailerons for steering. Essentially, precise maneuvering relies heavily on them.
Wow. Okay, so a failure there. That could be really bad.
Exactly. It could mean anything from, not being able to get the gear down properly to difficulty controlling the plane's descent or even skidding off the runway during landing. The fact that the crew spotted this early
Hmm.
and responded the way they did, that prevented a potential disaster.
That really puts it in perspective. Does a plane like that usually have backups, like multiple hydraulic systems? Or is it all down to the pilots catching it quick?
That's a great question. And yes, absolutely. Modern aircraft are designed with redundancy, multiple hydraulic systems precisely because they're so critical. But, while having backups is crucial, that early detection by the crew, like in Ahmedabad, it's still paramount. It gives them time to react, use those backups effectively, or decide to land before things get worse.
Right. Okay. So looking beyond this one flight, then, what does this incident tell us about aviation safety overall? I mean, is something like this common, or was Ahmedabad, a bit of a one-off?
Well, if we zoom out, the data suggests these kinds of issues aren't exactly rare unicorns.
Oh,
Looking at the last 3 years in India, our sources point to 27 emergency landings linked to mechanical or system failures.
27. Wow.
Yeah. And specifically relevant here, 7 of those involved hydraulic system warnings, like the one in Ahmedabad. And in 3 of those cases, there were actually minor runway overruns. So while Ahmedabad ended well, which is a huge credit to the crew,
It shows the underlying issue is still a recurring challenge.
precisely, it's something the industry is constantly working on, constantly addressing.
Okay, so that naturally leads to the next question. Technology, specifically AI, we hear so much about it. Could AI help prevent these things? Stop them before they even become emergencies in the air?
That's definitely where a lot of focus is heading. And AI is already being used in aviation. Things like predictive maintenance, trying to guess when a part might fail before it actually does.
Yeah.
Also, real-time data monitoring during flight, optimizing flight paths.
So how could it help with hydraulics specifically?
Well, if more airlines adopted AI-powered diagnostic systems, these systems could potentially predict issues, maybe subtle pressure changes or early wear signs, even before the plane takes off. That could significantly reduce the chances of these mid-air emergencies. It's about shifting from reaction to prediction.
So what kind of tiny detail would an AI system be looking for? Something a human check might miss, like tiny pressure drops or fluid changes.
Exactly that kind of thing. AI excels at sifting through enormous amounts of sensor data constantly. We're talking minute changes in fluid pressure, tiny temperature shifts, maybe even detecting microscopic metal particles in the hydraulic fluid itself, stuff that indicates wear and tear. These can be early warning signs of a failure down the line. An AI could flag that for maintenance way before a pilot would ever notice anything wrong during a flight.
Okay, that makes sense. So bringing it back to the Ahmedabad incident, what are the big takeaways here? It seems like, number one, human expertise under pressure is still absolutely vital. That crew's response was key. And number two, there's this huge potential for AI to shift safety from being reactive to, well, proactive, catching problems on the ground.
Absolutely spot on. The Ahmedabad landing really highlights this need for better monitoring, more advanced systems, and possibly, yes, much greater integration of AI into flight diagnostics. The ideal scenario, perhaps, is AI flagging potential issues, and then human experts verifying and deciding on the action. Combining that human experience with AI tools, that really could be the key to making skies even safer.
So as we wrap up, think about this. What does this deep dive into aviation safety, this balance between human skill and AI potential mean for your world? Maybe in your job or just technologies you interact with every day. Something to mull over until our next deep dive.